Hello, Jared Hood Sports. Jared Hood. Been over 2 weeks since I've done this. I know I was doing it every week during the playoffs. I think it's kind of self-explanatory why I didn't do it right after the Super Bowl. Different setting. Going to get this out of the way. Two things. One, you might hear some cars. I do have a window open. Just better airflow in here. Two, going to get better lighting. But two, you're going to hear some water. Almost sometimes it sounds like it's like flooding the area. I promise, it's not flooding my place. My new place is just heated by water in the baseboards. Older. Well, I'll start. And by the way, my videos during the NFL playoffs were kind of condensed. I like them, but I'm going to do something different next year during football season. I do have two things on the horizon, maybe, so be on the lookout for other things other than just this. But I want to get more info in. I want to talk a little more analytics and real dive into numbers, things that I really am good at and enjoy when it comes to picking these games. But let's get into the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl. Everything after the Nationals is a blur, right? I'm joking. As a fan, as an Eagles fan, the first, very early, I felt it was just everything was really intense. They got the touchdown out of the way. They score early. Defense, though, right off the bat gives up a touchdown. Biggest part of the first half, not the biggest part, but a huge part of the first half is the Eagles are up 7, momentum, moving the ball really well, and they did a really good job most of the game moving the ball really well. And a 3rd and 1, 3rd and inches, whatever. Salomalo goes off sides, makes it 3rd and 6, and the next play was the fumble where Jalen, he had a linebacker coming right at him and it wasn't in his face or in his grill yet, but the linebacker was going to be there in any second, and just took his eyes off the ball. It's a play that, I'll be honest with you, Jalen probably has made since middle school a million times, and that might be the 10th time that happened, right? I don't know, but point is just like the one thing I can say, and I felt this during the game, and I went over the game. I did not rewatch it. I was going to, and I never got around to it because I just don't feel like it, honestly. It hurts, I'll be honest. But anyways, the thing I felt, I'm glad I have the same feelings 24 hours after that game as I do right now. But the thing I felt in that game at that moment that I still feel true to this moment is when that ball was going away from him and I saw the Chiefs player pick it up. It hurt, probably dropped to my knees, whatever. But I thought right away, Jalen's gonna score a touchdown. I mean, they're gonna score a touchdown. He's gonna lead them right down the field. First play was like a 15-yard draw. And he leads them down the field then on the next drive. They did have a 10-point lead going into half. Kansas City didn't capitalize on some things. Eagles didn't fully capitalize on some things, but again, 10-point lead going into halftime in the Super Bowl. But just 10-point lead going into halftime against Kansas City in a football game. It felt you kept the ball out of their hands, and I know the fumble and then the long drive afterwards, and the long drive to score a touchdown to open the game. Those 3 drives alone take up most of the first half, but it's just one of those things that, like, sorry about that, having camera issues. Back at it. So the 3 drives that took up most of the first half. Halftime is long enough in the Super Bowl that you have adjustments, right? You got Andy Reid. I mean, I get that those 3 drives by the Eagles were the reasons that KC wasn't on the field, but Andy Reid was able to go in there, and anything that he was missing, he was able to adjust and fix. Patrick Mahomes was able to get the rest he needs. The Kansas City defense, while the Eagles' offense, I felt like in the second half, hurt themselves, Kansas City's defense made some stops, right? So who's to say at halftime didn't do something for them? Kicking the field goal for Sirianni in the second half. I didn't love Andy Reid kicking the field goal in the first half, so if Sirianni would have elected to go for it, I would have been okay with it. I will say after the 3 and out, a lot of people think on 4th down he should have went for it. I on his own like 30. I disagree. I think the Eagles definitely should have punted there. Um, it did lead to the bad punt. Again, listen, the punt he kicked the I before the game. I unfortunately I don't want to say it was a joke, but I was saying really outside of quarterback, the only place that I felt like the Chiefs were 100% better than the Eagles was the punter. And the Eagles punter comes back from injury. Listen, I didn't like either punter, right? I know people really like Hearn. I didn't like Sparrows, whatever. I was not a fan of either punter throughout the year. I thought both of them just in the Super Bowl, the biggest game of the year, the punter who rushes back from injury punted the ball where the play wasn't supposed to be. The entire Eagles team is running the other direction. The punt coverage is going left and the ball is punted right. However you want to call it. They were going right, going left if you're looking at it from behind. But if you're looking at it from the Eagles side, the whole team's running this direction and the ball's going this way. They all thought the ball was supposed to go the other way. Then they over pursued, hung me so fast. I don't want to say that's what lost the Super Bowl, but I mean that was again the Hurts play doesn't lose a Super Bowl. That doesn't lose a Super Bowl. But combine them, that loses the Super Bowl. I mean that was gut wrenching. That one was like. And then I'm not here to blame the refs or anything, but yeah, didn't call that hold all game. Don't love to see it that way. It was so funny. People were like, "Oh man, hate to see a Super Bowl end that way," and I'm like, "I'm an Eagles fan. How do you think I feel?" Like this, man, that one, yeah, that you didn't. There was a lot of technicalities not called. The field was terrible. That's not an excuse either. But what's up with that? Um, I liked how both Kelsey brothers handled that. They said they loved the field. It's funny, but listen. So the reason that one is always going to sting is because the Eagles. I don't care what you tell me. Jalen Hurts was better than Patrick Mahomes that day. The Eagles felt like the better football team for a lot of that game. The Eagles all season, every loss, they beat themselves. Every single loss this year, the Philadelphia Eagles, the reason they lost is because they beat themselves. And if you beat yourself against the Chiefs, I mean, come on. So I'm not one of these. Oh well, we can look to the future but if you want to take a step back and a deep breath, Jalen Hurts, could be the Patrick Mahomes of the NFC, and look what they've done over a 5-year span. So it's gonna take a while to get over. But baseball season's around. I'm gonna talk some baseball here in a minute. Um, you know, don't want to take anything away from the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Kelsey, the whole defense. Again, the whole time I kept saying like it was just like the Eagles make a play, make a play, make a play, make a play, and the Chiefs kept making their plays, kept making their plays, kept making their plays. It took me this long to say it, but I do believe that Jonathan Gannon not making adjustments was the biggest difference of the game. If I have to pin it on one thing, there's no question in my mind he was. I mean, and the BS. Oh well, he blitzed on the second corn dog where they go boom one way for the other touchdown. I get it. He blitz. Okay, congratulations. He blitzed in the red zone. The people like me who were like, "Hey, I'd like to see a little." No, I'm not. I don't need him to be Jim Johnson, but just a little more aggressive. We weren't talking about inside the 20s. That's not rocket science. There, we were looking for like you know when he was 20 to 20 here. But they were to get beat on the same play 3 times in the year is a little rough. Twice in the same game, twice in the same half. In the Super Bowl, I mean, it feels like you get pantsed, right? Um, but he gets a job practically right away. So I don't. I think Steichen was awesome all year. I don't know about Gannon. I go back and forth on it. I understand the scheme is bend don't break, and I am a firm believer that in the NFL, and the Eagles have played this way for a long time, but in the NFL it's bend don't break, and you're going to have your best chance. Look at Steve Spagnuolo. I think he's just the best defensive coordinator to throw out there for the bend don't break theory, right? But you got to have a kind of offense that can do what Patrick Mahomes does, or have the playoffs that Eli Manning had, to be Spags and get away with what he gets away with, and that's fine. Like, I look at the Eagles' offense right now. Like, it's possible that they could bring a guy in that can do basically the bend don't break stuff like Gannon, and just do enough. Like, I mean, look at what the Chiefs. What did the Chiefs defense do a whole lot to win the game? Yeah, listen, they had their breaks and they executed on. I'm not going against that, but it just you're following me here. So. I'm not saying Gannon doesn't deserve the job, but if you look at the numbers, pretty much anything above average to good to great quarterbacking has dominated him, or just good play calling. Um, like, the reason the Niners felt the way they did isn't just because they felt like they could beat him with Brock Purdy, because Kyle Shanahan's just like, he is an Andy Reid kind of play caller, and the Niners felt like they could do what the Chiefs inevitably did. Spent way more time on that than I even expected to. Gonna move on to the next thing. The world's going crazy about something happening in baseball. I'm going crazy over the Phillies. What's up? Shout out to the rest of the Phillies fans. Talk about something. I mean, put a smile on my face. Go Phils, right? That's going to be a fun lineup. And if the pitching is, I don't even want to. We're not. This isn't a Phillies podcast. I'm here to talk about the world's talking about the MLB pitch clock. Okay, there's 3 rules, by the way, that changed this year, but the MLB pitch clock seems to be getting the most attention after the first weekend of spring training. I don't know. As a daily user of baseball, I can tell you that the pitch clock is not that big of a deal to me, because all the MLB is asking the batter to do is to walk into the batter's box in a timely manner, and then the pitcher to just pitch a pitch in a timely manner. They're not asking them to, hey, go, 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 go. They're not trying to speed. They're not even this wasn't even implicated to make games faster and have people watch it, and have more people watch it, and have the game go from 3 hours and 15 minutes to 2 hours and 40 minutes, which is a huge drastic change if that's really what it is. But point is that MLB that has nothing to do with it. The MLB was tired of watching either the pitcher or the batter. Okay, here's the pitcher on the mound. Here's the batter. Okay, pitcher I'm just gonna say the pitcher. Pitcher walks around the mound for 30 seconds for no reason, because the batter's just standing there waiting. Okay, and then the pitcher gets on the mound. Then the batter calls timeout, walks around for 30 seconds. Okay. The MLB is just trying to get rid of that. That's all. That's it. There's nothing more, nothing less. Like, they want the batters to bat and the pitchers to pitch. And you know what? Baseball players, I get it. I get it. We're asking a lot of them, batters to bat and pitchers to pitch, but I think they're going to be okay. I think they're going to adjust. And honestly, I don't even think people like me who are daily users are going to. If there's going to be subtle nuances that make the game any different, it's not going to be something. In 10 years, 10 years from now, I know I'm just not finishing sentences, but passionate today. 10 years from now, they are going to ask, so you guys would just wait for those 2 individuals to be ready, like, just whenever they're ready, like there was no rhyme or reason, like we just waited till like Tuesday if they wanted to wait till Tuesday. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. The umpire came in at any point, like, hey, get in the box, hey, get on the mound, whatever. I understand, but come on. Like, if you want to talk about changing integrity and the game this and the game that, man, they literally banned the shift. For 100 years, you could put your left fielder in right field, you could put your right fielder behind second base, you could put your center fielder standing next to him, and your shortstop standing wherever I just told you your right fielder is, or your left fielder, whatever. And it didn't matter. There was no rule. You could do it. It would have been zero issue. You literally can't move guys like that anymore. You have to stay half on one side of the bag, half on the other side of second base. The bags are bigger, which I believe that, and this is just my own personal like theory take on it or whatever. People are saying the stealing thing, and I think the stealing thing is a good theory, but I believe that people are going to be getting from home to first quicker. Like how many of the boom boom, like just almost out, just almost safe. How many of that times, how many almost safes did we get over the last 100 years that we've been watching baseball? All of us. Now the bag's just again just that much closer, but they were always just that much out, right? So I'm not saying it's an uptick. I'm not, but I do believe that we might get a couple more, and it's just going to make the run to first base a little more interesting, even if it is by an inch. I get it; it's like 3 inches, but to me, that the bases in the shift, if you want to go integrity, which I like all the listen, I like the pitch clock just because I think it's all we're doing is asking batters to bat, pitchers to pitch. I like the bases because if it does make an uptick in stealing, I enjoy baseball in the 90s. I grew up watching baseball in the 90s, so stealing was a huge part of how I understood baseball. And if you still watch college baseball or even have any family members in younger leagues, youth leagues, or high school or whatever, fall leagues and stuff like that, stealing's still a huge part of the game in those levels. So it's not like the MLB's on an island with the whole stealing thing, and they want to figure out how to get that back, and maybe this is their way to do that. And the shift, I listen, I've always credit my dad, but everybody. Everyone's always felt like Ryan Howard's the best example for this. If they're all going to play you all to one side, just they would always play him on the first base side. Well, just hit it down the other way. For some reason, some people just can't do that. If you do that for Bryce Harper, he literally just lays a bunt down and gets down to first every single time. Like, I love it. It's fantastic. It's a great idea. It's what you should do. It's a smart baseball play. But everyone's about the home runs now, so they had to figure something out because over the last 15, 20 years, it went to just everyone wants to hit home runs. And so now it's just like, well, there's no really even base hits because if you're not hitting a home run, you're hitting flyouts to the same spot. You're hitting lineouts to the same spots. So they're trying to figure out a way to minimalize having somebody stand there and the ball just literally be beamed right at them within a couple of steps. And the world is about more offense in all sports. So to try to fight that anymore is what it is. I'm for more action. And I think that's what all three of those rules at the end of the day give you. And that's what they were intended for, I believe, personally. Real quick, just want to talk a little bit about the draft combine. Really, mainly that the Bears are putting the number one pick up for sale, and they should. I think it's crazy talk to say that you want to take any of these new quarterbacks over Justin Fields. Here's why I'll tell you that, because we can have a debate about quarterbacks, any of them that you want. I like a couple of them in the draft coming up, but at the end of the day, Justin Fields just did something with no offensive line that was super impressive, and you put a team around him, he can. You don't think that can win? I mean, I'm not going to say he's going to have to run the ball that way, but what was the knock on Jalen Hurts over last year? And Fields is still a step or two away from that, and he has time to develop into that. Trade the pick, get a boatload of picks, maybe even a player, whatever you can. Protect Justin Fields. Build a defense and capitalize on the fact that the Lions might be the best team over the next 2 or 3 years in that division, right? So, come on. I mean, someone's got to make some headway. Speaking of one of the quarterbacks, I think the Bryce Young conversation's just needs. I get it. It's draft week, and we need to talk about hands or how tall somebody is or how not fat enough they are, or how this, can he play or can he not play? I think we're at the point now in the NFL where I'm talking all positions. I mean, come on, Tyreek Hill, does he look like a wide receiver to you? Stop it, okay? Stop it. I'm at the point where, Devontae Smith, does he look a wide? People were saying he was too small. Out of the same school. Jalen Hurts can't do a lot of the things that this guy can't do out of the same school. Now, went somewhere else and learned a little bit different too, but still, point is come on. I'm not saying Bryce Young's going to be a home run Hall of Famer, but the thing, like, if we're talking about non-football things, right? This isn't. We're not talking about can he throw the football. We're not talking about can he read the field. Can he read a defense? We're not talking about can he, make every throw. I know I already said throw the football, but we're not talking about can he get out of the pocket. We're not talking about can he lead a team. We're talking about his size. We're talking about how tall he is and his weight. If the new generation of athlete, I'm telling you this right now, John Morant does not look like he can jump out the gym compared to LeBron James. But guess what John Morant can do? He can dunk on LeBron James. Like, stop it. Stop it. Just, I'm telling you right now, don't get sucked into that narrative. I get that Kyler Murray's not a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's not going to be a top 15 quarterback, it looks like, maybe even his whole career. But I'm telling you right now that, like, he has the talent. Okay, if you and I don't know what's missing. I don't know what's happening with him. If it's just I tell you one thing, it's not his size because when he's playing well, it's not because he's too small. You know what I mean? Like they went 12-0 at one point a year and a half ago. That's not because Kyler Murray's too small. So stop it with the size stuff. If you want to talk about football stuff and the reason why you won't draft somebody, I'm all ears. But come on, if we're not talking about football related stuff, then get out of here. Last thing I want to talk about is Manny Machado. Manny Machado signed what was it, 11-year deal, but 10 years technically. It's just an extension. 31 million every year. Okay. As a Phillies fan, I live in a hyperbolic chamber of hearing, well, we love Bryce. Look at and I agree. Bryce's contract is out of the park. And what is it, 26 million? And then to 22 million eventually. Like, come on, man. Awesome, right? And again, Machado's 31 million right now, and they signed at the same time, and Machado's going to be there longer. Even Trey Turner, 27 million for the same exact amount of years as Machado. Now the thing, here's what I'll try to explain to people outside of the Phillies narrative. Judge is 40 million for the same amount of years, and he's a year older. I'll be honest with you. I like Aaron Judge. I would take Machado over Judge. It's not a hot take. Trout is at 35 million. Outside of the injuries, Trout's better than Machado. But I do think, and I'm not somebody who's like, oh man, injuries. I do think we're getting to the point where, like, in his career, where it's like, all right, baseball's long season, so he's not like dinged up where he can't play at all. And last season he was fantastic when he was back from injury. But again, it just always seems to be lingering and be there. And listen, Bryce Harper, I get it, but Mookie, I think Mookie's a steal, man. He's only at 20 million, and then I think he was up to 30 million at like 35 years old in 5 years or something like that. And they can cut, they can get rid of that. Well, it's the Dodgers, so actually they're not a team that would get rid of that. Excuse me, they would trade him if anything and eat it. And Nolan Arenado, I thought, was also a pretty interesting one because he's only got 4 years left on his deal, but the next 2 years are at 35 million, and then he drops underneath Machado. So, just numbers, just food for thought, nothing real. I like Machado. I think he's a good baseball player, and same thing I said about Trey Turner and Bryce Harper. It's all funny money. The year 35 shouldn't mean a whole lot to you as a baseball fan of that team, and it's going to look like a steal, maybe. Look at the Harper contract right now. It looks like a steal, right? So who's to say the Machado contract in 3 or 4 years doesn't look like a steal? I'm not saying it doesn't look the other way either. As a Phillies fan, you always got to be wary of that, right? I lived through the Ryan Howard and Chase Utley and Jimmy Rollins and Cole Hamels overpaid days. It just is what it is. I love those guys. It's the way the cookie crumbles with that sport. Unless you're the Yankees or the Dodgers or even the Red Sox, you're really very few teams can compete year in and year out by overpaying players the way that I just yelled those numbers out. So. But every team I did just say outside of the Angels is in contention, and the Angels are going to have to make a decision here with Ohtani. He's going to be the one that you want to talk about. Now we're in the weeds here. I get it. You might not like contracts, but you want to talk about a contract. That's going to be super interesting, and I can't wait till they either sign him or trade him so he can be signed, because I'm very interested to see how that's going to be structured. So, a longer video. I'm going to piece some stuff together because it was clipping in and out. So I do apologize if there's anything that messed up. Hit me up if you have any questions. Thank you for watching Jared Hood Sports.